Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A New Comfort. If you are now joining me for the first time, welcome. I am Glacia, and on this channel, I typically talk about three things. The first is I typically talk about work-life balance, and the second is showing up for yourself, and the third thing is grief and loss. If you are returning back, thank you for your continued support. So this is the week of Christmas, and in preparation for this video, I really had to think about what I was going to say, get my emotions in check, because anytime I get ready to talk about grief and loss, I have to really go back into my feelings, my thoughts, and really have my memories emerge from the actual past. So this video is really talking about how to get through your first year after you lost a loved one. So for those people who do not know me, I lost my mom in 2010 in a car accident. And then in 2012, I lost my brother in a car accident as well. So in this video, I'll first start talking to you guys about how I was able to cope with each one of their deaths the first year of Christmas. And then I'll talk to you guys about some tips and tricks of how you can get through your first holiday. So Christmas is this Saturday. And so in 2010, on December 3rd, my mother was killed in a car accident. It was the hardest thing that I had ever, at that point in time, ever experienced. My mom and I were very close, and my family had just came up to Maryland because I'm originally from South Carolina, but I was actually in graduate school. So I had hosted Thanksgiving, and I just went all out, like everything from scratch. And because we were very close-knit family, like we really enjoyed that particular holiday. And so a week later, my parents celebrated their wedding anniversary, which is on December 2nd. And then the next day, December 3rd, my mother was killed in a car accident. It honestly felt like someone snatched my soul. And it's never been easy. Like that void has never been filled. And it's not like I'm trying to fill it. I just think that a part of me died that day, to be honest with you. And so between December 3rd and December 25th, it's approximately like 3 weeks. And I think during that time, I don't think we had a Christmas tree up because my brother and I, we were older. And so my parents, they don't have small kids. And so I don't think there were Christmas lights or anything of that nature. So that first few weeks, again, you're planning the funeral, all your family, friends, close relatives, co-workers, everyone is coming to support the immediate family during that time. And so it's not like we really had the opportunity to kind of sit down and talk about Christmas. I think one of my aunts, even my grandmother, had talked about Christmas, and then one of my aunts hosted Christmas, right? And so we met over there. So the time leading up to Christmas, I don't even think we talked about how we were feeling, if that makes sense. I just think it was just a lot to process. And because that, my mother and my father had very distinct roles. And so anytime someone has a significant part in your family, it's almost like, how do you readjust and redefine your role, in the family? So I'm the oldest and I identify as a female. So one of the things, the female part of me is really thinking about, how do I create the sense of normalcy? How do I kind of keep it together for my dad and my brother? And I'm pretty sure for them, it was almost the same thing, because it's not like we really grieved together. I think we grieved independently. And I think that we wanted to make sure that we were strong for one another. And that was just my sentiment. So the day of Christmas, somehow we met into the living room. I don't even know what time it was. I don't remember if the TV was even on. So my dad was like, Merry Christmas. And my brother and I said, Merry Christmas. And it was like very silent. And then I said, this sucks, because it did. And so I'm very thankful, when I really think about it, that my dad and my brother never said, no, it's not that bad. They honored and validated how I felt in that moment. And I think that if you are the person who is trying to provide comfort, please make sure that you validate what someone is saying. Doesn't mean that you got to agree with them. it's really validating and honoring how they're feeling in that moment. And I'm pretty sure maybe they felt the same way, but I'm just the one that said it. I tend to be the most outspoken one um, after my mom at this point, but that's just how it was. And so it was just like, yeah, this is not good. So we kind of got breakfast. It was pretty good. We had family and friends drop by. We had people from the community to really drop by as well. And then later on, we went to my aunt's house, and I'm very thankful for that support. And that's on my mom's side. And then my dad went to his side of the family as well. And then my brother went with his friends, and I think I just kind of went home. And so it was very hard, during that point in time. But what I will say, is this: if it really wasn't for our families, both on my mom and my dad's side, and our family and friends, and especially of our community, I really don't think we would have gotten through it the way that we did, to be honest. And so having that support is super, super important. So when I lost my brother, it really wasn't a full 2 years, right? Because my mother died in a car accident December 3rd. My brother died in a car accident October the 28th, 2012. So between that year and a half or so, we're kind of readjusting our roles in the family, trying to find this sense of new normalcy. And I put things in air quotes because it really wasn't. That's just how I can just really frame it. And I remember, when I received the news that my brother died. And again, it felt like someone hit me in my chest, to be honest. I don't think that people really understand, and people who've lost someone, you can comment below. You'll never forget what you were doing, what you were wearing, maybe what you were eating, and the scent, and how you found out. That right there is very cemented in my mind. And it really hurt because my brother is the youngest, I'm the oldest. And I feel like when you're the oldest child, you have an innate ability to try to take care of your younger siblings, right? Even though my brother was a little bit protective over me, I am still I'm the oldest out of he and I. And so it was very, very hard. And I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about that in the new year, of what that was really like for me. But you have to realize it wasn't a full 2 years. It was 3 days before Halloween, which I'm not really a Halloween person. For those people who like Halloween, hey, you do you. That's just not my thing. Then you had Thanksgiving. That's right after. That's another holiday. And again, Thanksgiving was the actual last holiday that we spent together as a family. And then I had December 3rd, which is my mother's anniversary, and then you have Christmas. So it was almost like that right there was the start of a new holiday season. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it was almost like we found a sense of normalcy. We were able to kind of pull together. We were strong. We were, I wouldn't say thriving, but we were able to maintain our physical, emotionally, psychological, and spiritual well-being. And bam, here you go. I don't think people really can imagine what it is like when you feel like your soul has been snatched, like there are holes in your heart that would never really be able to be filled. I don't care what accomplishments that I have accomplished after that. You'll always remember that that person isn't there. And I'm really trying to keep it together because I really want to cry right now, because if I want to, I will. But it's, again, reliving that. So for that Christmas, me and my dad, again, with the help of the support of our families, friends, colleagues, and the community, is coming together. So what I will say is this: what I didn't realize was just that when someone passes away, it's not just the impact of how that death really impacts the actual immediate family, like the people who live in the house with them, or their extended family. These people had, like my mom, my brother, they were co-workers, they were friends. So every person they touched was impacted. And I really didn't realize that. It took me years later to really kind of process that. But it was very hard. And what I will say for people who lost, if this is like your first or second year with the loss of a loved one, it does get easier. It does take time. But one of the things I will say is that I always try to honor my feelings. And so some of the tips that I would suggest to you, this is not comprehensive, there's no right or wrong way, but I strongly recommend that there's a healthy way to get through this holiday season. So I did my little research, as I always try to give you my personal, but then back it up with what other people are saying as it relates to anything, because that's just what I do up here. I'm an educator by training. So on lovelives.com, if you see me look it down, it's actually on a note card, because I want to make sure that I accurately state what they were indicating. And it's also located on my Instagram. So if you've not joined my Instagram at A New Comfort, please make sure that you go over to that page and subscribe and like and things of that nature. So one of the things they talk about is to be aware of your feelings. I cannot stress this enough. It's not that you have to be aware of your feelings. So for example, you're sad, right? You have to own the fact that you're sad. You have to own it and you have to feel it. Feeling sad, depressed, angry, those negative feelings is not the easiest, but it might be the healthiest. One of the things that I do know, even as a trained clinician, because I'm a trained counselor as well, I do a lot of stuff, but either way, is that when you don't address it, you push it down and it's going to come out sometimes in unhealthy ways. And one of the things I said in previous videos is that sometimes you're short with people, you're angry, you isolate and you disengage. And this is not saying that that right there cannot be very negative. Is staying there that may be an issue. But one of the things is, is to be aware and to own it. It's okay. It is okay. It is okay not to be okay. Let me just be very clear with you. Even when I was looking at the numbers of the pandemic, there's millions of people who've lost their lives, and there are millions of people who will continue to lose their lives. So it's extremely, extremely hard when you lose someone. And I don't care how you lost them, that's still a loss. A part of you is gone. And I don't care whatever happens after that. It's not like you can go to Burger King and say, hey, I would like a new mother today. It doesn't go that way. It really does. I really wish life was very simplistic, but that right there, it doesn't work. It doesn't, because I've never gone to Burger King and asked for a new mother. But what I will say is to acknowledge and be aware of your feelings. The second thing they talked about is to be okay with saying no. This is one of the things I talked about in another video as relates to how to show up for yourself. No is a complete sentence. In grammar, probably not, but in my instance, it's going to be no. No, it's okay if you don't want to celebrate. No, it's okay if you don't want to go to such and such house. No, you don't have to go to cemetery if you don't want to. It's okay to say no. It's okay to try not to pretend like everything's okay when you feel like your whole world has come crashing down on you. Say no. However, if you are the person who's trying to be there for someone, call and check on them, send them a text message, make sure it's okay to come over. Because what I will share with you is that depression is very real. Despite what people may say, it is very real. Suicidality is very real, especially during the holidays. So it's okay to check on your family and your friends who may be going through a very challenging time. You have that gut instinct that says, I may need to go over there. Now, whether or not they let you in, that's another story for another day. And sometimes it could be a matter of you just sitting there and say, hey, I'm just going to stop by for a few minutes just to check in on you to make sure that you're good. And if you're not good, hey, it's okay. If you need to cry, cry. If you want to laugh, laugh, how you're doing, right? And then if they ask you, be honest, with them. I'm not doing well. Or you could be like, you know what, I'm okay. I'm okay in this moment of time. It just depends. So I really want to make sure that I share that with you. The third thing they talk about is to make sure you take care of yourself. And this is going to be very individualistic. And so for me, how I took care of myself is that I had family and I had friends. There were particular people that I spoke to. Typically, when I spoke to people, especially with my mom, is that I have friends who lost their mothers before I did. So they kind of understood what that was like, if that makes sense. I don't think that any of my friends at that point in time had lost a sibling. But I did have mentors. After my mom passed away, I went to counseling, and I'm gonna talk to you guys in the new year with regards to the counseling, why I decided to go for my mom and I didn't go for my brother. But I needed that support. And I need to take care of myself because, again, I was still in school. I had to write my dissertation, and I just was trying to just keep it together. I didn't even know whether or not I was going to finish. But my dad told me that I need to finish school. And my grandmother was like, you need to get to your lesson, which means you need to finish your schoolwork, because my grandmother's old and she's Southern. That's just how she talks. So the other thing with regards to taking care of myself, I slept, I made sure that I still bathe. And, that may be very simplistic, but when you're in that rut, there's certain things that you don't really want to do. But I was able to get through that. I still had the support from my family during that point in time. And I cannot stress this enough. It really wasn't for my family, my friends, my mentors, the people that really showed up. And there are people who show up for you who you never thought would have. I don't think that I really would be where I am emotionally and psychologically or even spiritually here today. And the final thing they talked about is to ask for support. Now, what I will say is that I have never been the one to ask for help because I was always the person trying to figure it out. And sometimes figuring out by yourself, especially when you're grieving, your thought process is not there, right? Making sound decisions may not always be helpful because you're grieving. And one of the things that one of my good friends told me, because she had lost her mother, and she said that, Glacia, you'll find strength that you never knew you had. And I really didn't understand what that was. But as I was planning my mother's funeral, I remember being strong. And it really wasn't until after the funeral service where I really kind of broke down. There was some type of strength that she said that I end up embodying. And I don't know where it came from. Even in my mom's speech, at her funeral, when I did my speech, I was like, I'm not up here by my own strength, because I wasn't. There was something, maybe it was her strength pouring into me. I don't know. But I think that because my family and friends knew me a little bit better than what I gave them credit for, they showed up without me asking for that support. Now I've gotten better with asking for help, because I think that it's important, because I can do things, but sometimes I need help as it relates to that. And even like with my brother, I don't mind talking about him. I miss him. I miss him, my mom, a lot. But I can still get through my day. And I know they're always here helping and supporting me and guiding me and making sure that I stay out of trouble, which I don't get in trouble. So what I will say is, in my other areas of research, they were really talking about some ways that you can honor your loved one during the holiday season. Sometimes, you can volunteer. You can volunteer for a cause that's near and dear to your heart. Sometimes people have, very creative, like you make a Christmas stocking in memory of your actual person, or making their favorite dish during that particular point in time. You can share in the memories. What I will say is that we didn't pull out, at least I don't think that we pulled out the actual photo album, because I just think that we weren't ready. We did not volunteer. We didn't make a wreath. The only thing we did was continue to celebrate Christmas, because I think that we wanted to. I think that my mom and my brother would want us to celebrate during that point in time. And I think, again, we liked Christmas, and we were still able to get through those particular holidays after that first year. Each year it gets better. It really and it truly does. It is a matter of being healthy. It's allowing yourself to have the support. It's allowing, people to support you. And it really is about acknowledging your emotions. If you want to go to counseling, go to counseling. If you subscribe to a higher power, your spirituality, religion, do it. So a lot of times, if you want to go to the cemetery, I forgot to say, if you want to go to the cemetery, go to the cemetery. I don't know if I'm going to go to the cemetery on Saturday. I could or could not. It just depends on how I feel. I am not the type of person that tries to push myself into doing something that I really don't want to do. because I feel like I try not to be disingenuous to myself, and I try to live my life as authentic as possible on my own terms. So this concludes my video. It was very hard to get through this, to say the least. I'm glad that I did. And I hope that you find solace during this holiday season. I hope that if this is your first year going through the holidays without your loved one, my thoughts and my prayers are to you with your family during this difficult time. It does get better. And I hope that you're able to take away one or two things away from my tips and tricks, or even how I was feeling during my own losses. Please make sure you comment below. Hopefully you can like and share this actual channel. Yeah, that's it. We got through it. Yeah, it was very hard. It's really hard. But I hope that you find a new comfort in this holiday season. And hopefully this channel, A New Comfort, can be a space for you. Take care and happy holidays.